Okay, so this is a video not only for the 17th of March, your asynchronous work, but I'm also going to walk through a little bit what we're doing in case you've been missing class, because it will be probably difficult to do some catch-up work depending on how long it's been since we've had you in class. So the first thing we want to do is head over to Canvas, and this is for everyone. So make sure you are on Canvas. Let's just pretend like we're starting from our homepage. So you log on, you click into our Canvas course. It looks like this as always. Everything we do really lives in modules. So feel free just to click on modules. So if you haven't yet, I'm going to show you how to make a copy of the document. And in that document, we are going to do literally everything that we're going to be doing for the rest of the quarter. So that's about 2.5 more weeks, maybe 2 weeks. End of this week, half week next week, and then a full week after that. So where can I find this? Well, you can find it on most of our recent days. Hey, I'm just going to click on today's date because I know it's there for sure. So today, when I'm making this video, is Tuesday, the 16th of March. So this is what our Canvas page looks like. I am going to scroll down to where it says, make a copy of this document. It will be yours, love it and cherish it. Now, if you're already, have been in class last couple days, you have your own copy. So right now, just open up your own copy. But if you don't, click on that link, hit make a copy here, and go ahead and open that up. And so it looks like this. It is a comparative study in Afro-Futurist Utopia. We spent the latter half of the quarter looking into the history of Afrofuturism as a genre, and we've also spent some time learning about African history, pre-colonization, and then the effects of colonialism in Africa and the lasting effects on the broader African diaspora. And now, if those terms, like you weren't around when we defined those, what you can find here is actually, if you scroll down, you can find those resources here. Here's the day where we spent really diving into some ancient African history. And here's a module from the days that we spent looking at the broader African diaspora. That's how African folk have been spread voluntarily and involuntarily around the globe. Okay, so this is part one. Part one is literally just all of our resources. We have these old Canvas modules. We have our copy of the text, which is the Book of Martha by Octavia Butler, which we read as a class. So if you have not read that, you won't be able to do this. You can read it with these links. You can also watch YouTube videos where I've read it out loud. And I have a couple summaries of the text here. So assuming you've read the story, here's what you do next. So on Wednesday, when you're watching this video, you'll have completed part 2, which I'll go over in a minute here. And you'll have done the first chunk of part 3 that we started in class today on Tuesday. So we're thinking about Martha, the woman from the story, and her version of utopia, right? She's basically given one quote unquote wish to make the world a better place. And she decides that, well, people will kind of dream their own utopian futures, their own heavens, right? You'll dream whatever desires you have. And so we're thinking about this in an intersectional way. We're thinking, how does Martha's identity impact what she thinks will happen in the future, or how she designed her ideal utopia? So this first column here, and again, anything that's highlighted is where you put your answers. So you need to go find Martha's gender identity. Where does it say how she identifies in the text? Find that quote. There's at least two places where it explicitly implies it. How does she racially identify? Again, there's two places in the text, so either of those quotes. You can use the search function, so Control F, to find those quotes really quickly. What about her age? How old is she when she's making this decision? Her ability status. This one's tricky because you have to kind of do some reverse thinking. You're maybe looking at what she is able to do to conclude her ability status. And again, these are your best guesses, so there's some flexibility. With her wealth status, she talks, two quotes, talks about kind of how it was when she grew up, but then also where she's at now with her wealth status. And again, if you have questions about these, shoot me an email, shoot me a text. I can help you, point you to those quotes. And then you're finding another intersection of identity. So this link goes to our Lenses PowerPoint, where you can identify another intersection of identity. That could be something like her social power, her citizenship identity, her national place of national origin. Her religion is the one that I picked on my example because I know there are a lot of quotes about that. You could pick her. We don't get much insight into sexual orientation, but you could speculate based on what's provided. You could think about maybe psychology and like how she manifests her dreams psychologically. Okay, so these, you are literally just copying and pasting quotes from the text, right? This next column is you are speculating, so there's not necessarily a right answer. I just want to see your thinking. You're making a claim about how this part of her identity might impact her choice of utopia or the future. So her age, we find out she's 43 years old. What does being 43 have to do with how she thinks about the future? Well, older people and younger people tend to think about the future in different ways. Older people have more experience, younger people tend to be more hopeful, right? So you could make a conclusion that maybe she's a little bit older in life, right? She doesn't believe that utopias are possible. So she's more realistic, less idealistic. So you could make a claim around there. So again, this is just your speculation. It's for you to add in your own thinking. And if you're confused, what do? Ask me. Shoot me an email. We can talk through it together. Or if you have friends in the class, ask them. That's fine. I don't care. The next part of part 2 is another place for you to share your opinion. And again, you have to have read the Book of Martha in order for it to make sense. So go do that if you have not. I like Martha's version of utopia because. Tell me why, explain why, right? Give me a claim, give me some evidence, and give me a reason. The next question is, what do you think maybe she doesn't think of, right? Because it's not perfect. It's not a utopia. We say it in quotation marks because it's obviously not 100% a utopia. So what are you skeptical about? What do you think might not work? What do you think Martha forgets to include, right? And make a claim, share your thoughts, talk about why you think it might matter. And that's everything for part 2. Pretty easy. Most students in class finish that up in about a day and a half working on it. For part 3, this is what we did today in class. We previewed this background picture of Wakanda. So this is the capital city, the Golden City. So you can, zoom in, kind of look around, see what's going on with the architecture, with how the city is set up, how it's designed. You can see there's water going through the city. There's trees everywhere. You can kind of come to your own conclusions. You can see some of the buildings kind of have these facades that look like what we might think of with buildings in Africa in general, right? You see the thatching on the roof, right next to this immaculate, like shining skyscraper. So we have this blending of maybe the traditional with the more technological, with modernity, you might call it. Then we watched 2 short videos. They're each about 2 minutes. This first one is a little behind the scenes where cast and crew are talking about the importance of Wakanda as an idea. And then the second video is literally just from the film. It's when they first fly into Wakanda, so you can really see what they see, and they being Black Panther and some of the other characters from that film. The third resource we have here is a map of Wakanda, and this is from the Ta-Nehisi Coates version. It's one of the more recent comic book versions of Black Panther. Some of you may have written a CER paragraph about it, about one of the comics at the beginning of the quarter. So in class, we just read this first paragraph. We can see that Wakanda is bordered by mountains and hills and the lake as a country, and there are also these fictional countries surrounding it, which, you know, you can kind of just take it at face value. You don't have to read into the map too much, because all I'm asking you to do is, what do you notice? In 4 sentences, what do you notice going on? You could talk about the architecture, you could talk about the costumes, right? What people wear, you could talk about what shows up on the map, you could talk about, you know, try to really zoom into this picture and what do you notice? What do you see? Anything is okay, right? I'm trying to leave it kind of flexible for you. And the last thing I'm asking you to finish today on Wednesday the 17th is this question. In 3 to 4 sentences, connect what we see here, and in this video, especially the one that says featurette, connect it explicitly back to our work studying ancient Africa and the African diaspora / effects of colonization. Something in mind that I focused on was kind of resource extraction and how in colonies, these countries are stripped of the resources and they're not actually able to use those resources for themselves. They get exported to rich, mainly white European nations, or the United States, or in some cases, China. And then the people who actually live there don't get those things. Wakanda offers a counterexample of having resources and the people who live there being able to use them. So you could talk about that. You could talk about other aspects. But if you're not familiar with maybe some of these concepts, some of these ideas, then go back up to part 1 and watch some videos that give some solid background on what's going on here. So that should get you caught up to class when we come back on Thursday the 18th. When we come back in class, we're going to read through some more aspects of Wakanda and what really makes it that utopia. And then we're going to compare and contrast. So this should take us into the end of the quarter. But really, again, only focus on getting to here. There's a nice clear dividing line that should help you out there. So that is your task for the 17th. Office hours are at 1 o'clock. At 11 o'clock on the 17th, and on the 18th at 1 o'clock. If you have questions, email or shoot me a remind message. Other than that, take care, and I will see you in class on Thursday.